Hello everybody, this is Saint the Gamer, and today we're going to be talking about how to salvage a grade 4 Javelin. Now the Javelins come in 3 grades, 4, 5, and 6, and the main difference between the grades is just how much ship there is. The grade 6s are so long they'll come all the way out to the Master Jack, whereas the grade 5s are somewhere in between the size of this grade 4 and the grade 6s. So the first thing I like to do with the Javelins is decompress the ship, and I do that by venting the airlock.
Air pressure level decreasing.
Reason being, all the doors in there are usually open, so you can see they're all decompressing as we speak. Now the ship is separated in 3 parts: the forward part, the midship, and the aft. What I like to do when I tackle Javelins is just take each section of the ship one at a time. And it looks like this one we're going to have to actually go in there and work on emptying it further. You always want to be careful when you're explosively decompressing something, because you don't want a food pack or a bottle of water or something to come out and smash your helmet. Okay, looks like we're good. Alright, so we're going to start off here with the ion rings, and this is a great opportunity to show you guys the demo charges. This is the first ship where the use of the demo charges is really needed. Now what they do is you place them in a certain spot, and they're going to cut everything along the Y and X axis that it shows. And so if part of the axis was in the ion ring, it would cut directly through the ion ring. Now what I like to do is I like to place these at opposite ends of the ship when I'm using them, and I always like to use them in pairs. Reason being, they not only cut through things, but they also have a lot of explosive force. What that means is that if you detonate a bunch of them on one side of the ship, say the bottom of the ship right here, then you could potentially move the ship and make it harder for it to salvage. You guys will see what I mean by that when we actually go into demo these things. Now the reason you use these demo charges is because if you look at the cut points, and I'll stop here for a second so you can see it, right above my O2 bar, you can see that the cut point has 2 squares filled out. That means it is a level 2 cut point. Your spit saw can only cut level 1 cut points. It's not going to cut through the level 2. If you try, it just grays out. It won't fire because it can't get through it. There we go. The demo charges become available at level 6. Certification level 6, which is the same certification level where Javelins become available for use. And I highly recommend grabbing them as soon as possible. They're probably my favorite tool just because I'm a pyromaniac and I like blowing stuff up. Alright, we got those. Let's drag these out further front. And we're going to leave that one alone here for a second until we can actually get the front of the ship to move. Just because it'll be a pain, we'll go through a bunch of tethers otherwise. Okay.
Salvage secured. Credits deposited.
Now that we're in here, we're going to go in and we're just going to cut every cut point we can find. We're actually going to leave these ones alone because we're going to move all of this whole section up there as a single piece. That'll help us to save on tethers, since it'll move the nanocarbon lattice that's around the forward section as well. Okay, the cockpit is vented. Okay, I think this is the last one. Alright, now while we're in here, we're also going to take out these fuses. What taking out the fuses does, it allows us to salvage the power generator, which you can find at the front right here, without heavily damaging the generator. If you try to pull the generator without pulling the fuses, then what's going to end up happening is you'll take out half of its health just by pulling it out. And if you hit it against anything else, it starts losing health, and you end up losing out on a couple $100,000. So you always want to pull those 3 fuses, and now when we pull it out here in a few minutes, it's going to go ahead and come out without any kind of problems. Before we try to pull that out, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start salvaging the... Oh, I wonder why that didn't go all the way down. We're going to go ahead and start salvaging the nose of this ship. So we're pasting that on the nanocarbon lattice, and that's going to actually grab a hold of the nose of the ship through these 2 panels on the top and the bottom that we're holding on the ion ring. And then that's going to pull that entire section over into the processor without us having to use a ton of tethers, because normally that would require 1, 2, 3, 4 tethers, and we're going to do it with 2. So that's pretty cool. There's the ion ring. Got the next panel. We're going to send this one to the other one so it doesn't accidentally wipe out each other's tethers.
Warning. Your oxygen reserves are dropping below statistically profitable levels.
There we go. And before we go back for oxygen, we're going to pull that power generator and send it down there to be salvaged.
Secured. Credits deposited.
Nanocarbon metal thrusters and reactor. Okay. I was just double checking our work orders to make sure we're going to be able to get all of them. We might not get all of them in this shift. In fact, we probably won't, because I'm not going to make it to the back of the ship until our next shift. However, we're going to probably make good headway on the metal and nanocarbon side of it. Okay, the cockpit's away. Now we're going to delete the tethers. And let's set up a couple more tethers on here to pull it in. Apparently it didn't go in all the way. That's pretty unfortunate, but whatever. We're going to set up another tether on that one. Alright. Now getting this cockpit on at first looks hard, but it actually gets real easy once you take the top off. So the first thing you want to do is tether those 2 computers together so they pull each other off the wall. Next, come into here and delete these 4, cut these 4 cut points. That will let you remove the sealing of the cockpit, which you can then go ahead and push or tether into the closest processor. There, you have a wide opening. Just go ahead and gut the cockpit.
Salvage deposit accepted. Credits transferred.
Oh shit. I want to be careful with the computer terminals because they can die pretty easily. Unfortunately, it's like $40,000 down the drain too, so that's really disappointing. You can cut these 2 cut points back here, and that'll help you separate the floor panels from each other, which helps you separate the glass from the rest of the cockpit so you can send it into the furnace. We're not going to do that. It's just not worth the time and the effort to do it. You're actually going to end up losing money based on the amount of time it takes you to make that happen. It's more cost effective for you to go ahead and send it straight into the processor.
Got about 5 minutes left in this shift, Cutter. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Weaver out.
Now this panel right here is sometimes difficult to move. However, we really need to move it so that we can get the airlock out of the way. first of all, we need another tether on that one apparently.
Caution. Tether supplies running low.
There we go.
Object accepted for processing. Credits deposited.
Alright, and now we can go ahead and tether this right over here.
Secured. Account credit applied.
Maybe if you take out that ladder, it'll be easier to move. There we go. As you can see, these circular rings are sometimes a huge pain in the butt to move, but you do what you can. I mean...
Salvage deposit accepted. Credits transferred.
Alright, so... now that we're down to here, we're actually going to pull this last ring off. It looks like we missed a couple cut points here, though. Any more that we missed? Okay, so we're going to pull this last string off by tethering it to the master jack.
Warning.
And then we're going to go grab more tethers while we wait for that to come off. We should probably be okay on fuel.
Fuel levels are low. Fuel supplies
We're
are
more than
available
okay
for
on
purchase
oxygen,
at the
so just
master
tethers.
jack.
And once that comes off, go ahead and tether it into the processor. Alright, now if you go and you see there's a lot of objects inside of that room, so we want to go ahead and try to salvage it if we can. Now, aluminum is worth almost nothing in this game. It's very, very cheap material that yields very little for you. So we're just going to go ahead and burn up the entire panel so that we don't have to deal with it.
Valuable object processed. Credits awarded.
If you have a cutter in low repair like I do, this might take a minute to do. There we go. Oh, shoot. Are you kidding me? All I did was hold off. How did that scrap it? Gosh darn it.
Fire damage.
Okay, well...
safe distance from flammable items.
That sucks.
All right, Cutter. Wrap it up. You got about a minute left.
Okay, so once you have everything out of there, good lord, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut off the forward section of the ship from the midsection. We're going to do that by severing this aluminum lattice as I'm showing you right now. Just double check, make sure it's cut. It is. Okay, so once you've cut that, we're going to go ahead, we're going to grab that, we're going to tether it to the master jack so it pulls it forward.
Reminder,
That way we can tether it into the
asphyxiation can lead
processor.
to missed salvage quotas.
As you can see, it's getting pulled forward. We're going to end up sending it into the processor next time. For now, let's go ahead and make some cuts on these cool things and call it a shift. So we pulled 2.8 million out during this shift. And now we're going to go ahead and repair our equipment and go into the second shift. You have a lot of links tokens, so let's take a second to upgrade the equipment too. get a heat capacity upgrade there, and that's all we're going to be able to afford. Alright, that's probably far enough forward so we can go ahead and we can start tethering this over into the furnace. Now, fortunately, both the clamp and the coolant need to go into the barge. So we can just go ahead and push these 3 down here, directly down there.
Salvage secured. Account credit applied.
Now the pod clamps come off real easily, but the coolant can be pretty heavy, and that's 600 kilograms. So it's easier to use a tether to pull these side pieces of coolant off. Now we do have a clamp and 2 things of coolant up here. Unfortunately, it can be a little bit difficult to pull the coolant off of the top rail. And so what we're going to want to do is we're actually going to want to also separate the lattice from the aluminum, and so we're going to go ahead and do that before we pull the coolant tanks. So the first thing we're going to want to do is separate the aluminum lattice from the aft of the ship. Is that every piece? Yes, it is. Okay, so it's now separated. Just go ahead and start pulling that forward.
Salvage secured. Credits deposited. Salvage secured. Account credit applied.
Okay. Now, this is another point where our demo charges are going to come in handy. One there. One there. That's going to push it down, up. Now we need to go down again. Up again. Now we're going to push it right, left, that direction, and that direction. So always put those together in opposites again, because they are going to bounce this thing all over the place if you do not. In fact, they still might bounce it all over the place. I guess we'll see. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now tether that directly to the processor. I'm sorry, to the furnace. Tether the aluminum to the furnace and the nanocarbon to the processor. If you're scared about losing a piece like I am right now, try tethering part of it to the back of the bay. Ah, beautiful. Okay. And the furnace can go ahead and pull it in from there. Now that we're working on the aft section of the ship, we're going to go ahead and take care of these high gain antennas first. Sometimes you'll also see those at the front of the ship. Just go ahead and salvage them when you can. They're worth a pretty penny.
Raw material processed. Credits deposited.
Assuming, of course, that they actually go down into the bloody barge. Good lord.
Salvage deposit accepted. Credit
Oh, that's my
transferred.
grapple. It's injured. Okay, that's fine. Alright, let's go ahead and place that there. And we want another one over here. Now, one thing that's really tempting to do is to put away the demo charge tool while your charges are still going off. Do not do that, because if you do, it'll stop the other charges from going off and just delete them. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's the way the developers intended it, but whatever the case, you're going to want to keep your demo charge tool out for the entirety of the duration of the explosions.
Salvage secured. Credits deposited.
Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing here that we did in the last one. Go through and cut all the possible cut points.
Processing valuable objects. Credits awarded. Deposit not accepted.
Your oxygen reserves are low. Note that excess carbon dioxide can cause damage
Now, what's
to linked
interesting is
equipment.
that the grade 4 Javelins have class 2 thrusters and class 1 reactors. That's interesting because it means that the thruster
Salvage
is
deposit
worth
accepted.
almost 4
Credits
times as
transferred.
much, actually almost 5 times as much, as your reactor. So if you have to choose between the thruster and the reactor, save the bloody thruster. Once you get onto your grade 5s and 6s, that's no longer true because then you have the class 2
Oxygen level
reactors.
stabilizing.
But for the grade 4s, it's kind of interesting. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pull that back. Alright, delete those tethers, and we're going to pull the reactor and send it out.
Salvage secured. Account credit applied. Work order is complete. Salvage secured.
Let's
Credits
tether the
deposited.
inside of the ship and see if we can pull it out. That'll make salvaging
Warning,
the rings a lot
no
easier.
tethers remaining.
And we can. Beautiful. We don't have any tethers left? Wow. Okay. Let's go get some more.
Welcome to Vendatron 9000.
Material deposited.
Alright, so that's it for the nanocarbon. Let's go and let's get the rest of our that's the insides of the cabin. Oh shit, we're about to lose that. Okay, let's pull it down there
Deposit accepted.
just to keep it out of the furnace. Those two are okay, alright. So it's just that one I was in danger of losing. Okay, it died, so I don't have to worry about counting.
Alright, Cutter, you got 5 minutes left of this shift.
Okay, so
before they turn the
nanocarbon's all
lights
good
out.
to go. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
Leave her out.
Let's come into here.
Object accepted for processing. Credits deposited.
Hey, it didn't die on us and try to kill us this time. That's nice. It's amazing to me that that's kind of a high bar, but apparently it is. Okay, so we have the big terminals. Let's grab this small terminal. Let's grab the
Credits transferred.
atmospheric generator and then processor, whatever it's called. Regulator, my bad.
Salvage secured. Credits
Atmospheric
deposited.
regulator, and then we are good to go. Yeah. Now, one trick that I want to show you guys with the demo charges is, you know how they bounce the ships around? Well, if you're ever worried that you're not going to be able to get a piece into the processor or the furnace in time, put a couple of demo charges on it like so. And then that'll give you the boost you need to get it in there faster. Kind of a cool trick. Again, it only works on the processor and furnace because it's going to pulverize whatever you
Raw
put those on.
material processed.
And so if you put it on
Credits
something you're sending to the barge, it will destroy it before the thing you're trying to get to the barge actually gets to the barge. Okay, that's a cut point. We don't need to worry about that. Anything else floating around? Sparge that, and
Salvage
sparge that.
secured. Account credit applied.
Man, a lot of these pod clamps did not go in, did they?
Salvage deposit accepted. Credits transferred.
Cut point, ion ring. Okay, it looks like we should be good to go. There's something sparking up there, but it's probably just scrap, and I'm not gonna spend the time to go get it. Alright, and that is how you salvage a grade 4 Javelin. Now, this is not a method you want to use in the race. In the race, you want to do, you want to go for the work orders and then dispose of as much mass as possible. This is mainly just how to go through it in career mode to safely dismantle the Javelin while extracting as much value out of it as possible. Have a good one, guys. Actually, I'll let you see how much we got from this before we go. So this is $3.5 million right there. So yeah, there you go. Now to show you what I was saying earlier about the thruster and the reactor. Oh, looks like they increased the cost of the Class 1 reactor to 500,000 instead of 300,000. So, okay, my bad. So it is still worth more than the thruster. It used to be that the Class 2 thrusters were worth 450,000 each, and the Class 1 reactors were worth 300,000 each. Which I guess means I can't do math, but anyway. They must have changed the cost of the Class 1 reactor, which is a big benefit to us, so hey, cool. Alright, thank you for watching me, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content, and have a good one, guys.